Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. Could share with us a little bit about your perception on what the current threat landscape looks like.
So threat landscape, it's radically changing and has been probably since around 2014, where you started to move from maybe the people who just want to show they could break into systems or do stuff to organized crime. And organized crime saw, hey, I can do money laundering, I can do human trafficking, I can do illicit material sales. And suddenly I've got a new business unit, which is a cyber attack. So you've really seen the organized crime ring move into that. And it's not the 16-year-olds in the bedroom with Red Bull, the hoodies, which we kind of see on the architecture slides when we search it. They are fundamentally organized crime units coming out of places like North Korea, Russia, and other places. So you're getting things like RAAS, which stands for Ransomware as a Service, or malware as a service. Well, not only that, when you pick a target that you want to attack, you can actually go onto the dark web and find companies that will give you software or give you tips and techniques that will allow you into organizations. So it's not something that is on the edge of maybe just hacktivists or non-serious folks. This is a serious business.
Mike mentioned earlier, ransomware as a service was growing, but phishing as a service was growing also. So we are seeing a lot of phishing campaigns daily. We are seeing people who get caught by the most simple attack, which usually looks like a scam. But this is happening, and the organizations must invest in their people, must train them, must make them understand the importance of their roles that they have in place, and must make them aware about these kind of things which are happening daily. It's easy to phish now, it's easy to get a platform, it's easy to go on dark web. Everyone with simple Google knowledge could do it, and the service could be offered by paying for it. So you don't need to be an expert.
How is it that after the click has happened, how is it that organizations can successfully try and deal with these guys once they get inside the walls of the castle or past your security?
Sure, and I'd love to say get in the walls of the castle, because it actually is going to, when I was writing your question down, it gets back to, which we don't tend to use that often, but defense in depth. Defense in depth is a brilliant saying. It's saying that you have the moat, you have the wall, you have the sentries, and you have then the keep. And your attacker has to be successful to get through all these defense in depth. And really, when you look at a cyber defense solution, you should be looking at that. Say, okay, I know there's solutions like endpoint detection, EDR, network detection, then the SIM, then you have identity access management, privilege access management on your databases. Then you have the SOAR, which is probably the most important product in a SOC, keeping everything together. Then you have enrichment coming from threat intelligence. So to say that for an attacker to be able to climb the wall and move then through cross the courtyard into the keep and up, then you got to question, well, how integrated was your solution? You should be looking at, how can I stop them? Okay, if my endpoint didn't catch them, did my network detection and response catch them? Did my SIM catch them? Did I enrich with my threat intelligence? So we have to be looking at this, that it's not it's not individual solutions. So when you come to a cyber defense solution, you're saying, what is my end goal? And my end goal is stopping these guys as soon as possible. And then you have to say, well, where can I catch them as soon as possible? And therefore you always have to have the holistic approach.
What are we going to know in 72 hours? Was it a real breach? Is it a false positive? What regulations do we fall under? How do we contain this situation from becoming a massive, massive issue?
I have to say that I can't tolerate vulnerabilities whatsoever, because I know it'll have a knock-on effect. But I'm saying that if you are unlucky and your data is breached, and you are right, 72 hours, and I mentioned SOAR being an important thing, you shouldn't be ringing your privacy officer to say, who are you? What do you mean about this cyber data? You should have trained for this, to say, I gotta make sure that my defenses are the best. But if I do lose this and I say, you need to come down to my SOC, we're having the emergency meeting, they're coming down and they've done the training day with you. They say, right, what data has been lost? here's the report I'm going to file with GDPR. Here's what I need. And you go, I got you, I got you, I got you. If you're making it up on the fly, you are burning daylight, and you can't do that. So that would be, say, you got to prepare, hope for the best and prepare for the worst. Have your privacy officers down in your room, have them say exactly what data you need, because they're the items. If you've already trained for this, they might say, I need to see the data. Is it personal data? Is it credit card data? Is it health records? Well, all this has to be said, yes, it is. So all this has to be said, well, I actually have the federal search capability to show where this data was taken from, how it got there, because my GDPR regulator will look for all this. So you're not making it up on the day. If you are burning those 72 hours way fast. You should be doing.
Alex, from your perspective, when an organization, I mean, you've been called into many incident response situations over your career, right? And when you're called in and the proverbial has hit the fan, right? And people are really trying to, they're under time pressure, they're under regulatory pressures, they're under every type of pressure imaginable. What should organizations focus on?
Mostly, the impact was increased by the lack of preparation. I saw that all the organizations are having missing things on the incident response plan, which is not regularly updated, which is not tested properly. The people don't know their roles and responsibilities in case of a data breach. Of course, I saw also some situations where the IT staff, it was not enough training, it was not keeping up with the threat landscape updates, and was not able to identify or classify an incident correctly, and that was the reason for going to be a data breach at the end. And of course, the internal coordination between all these teams will play an important role. So that incident response plan must contain all the steps that the incident response team must take, must contain all the communications plans, legal and regulatory considerations, must contain all the steps that they need to do from start to end in order to reduce the impact of the data breach.
Can you give me an example of an organization who have fallen victim to a cyber attack where it has been handled in a very efficient and effective manner?
We had an incident where we detected one user who clicked on a malicious URL, and at that moment they had a really impressive incident plan in place, and the incident response plan, and they got all the proper teams in that call. We were able to identify all the affected assets, tell them they were able to contain the threat until the data breach happening. So the attacker was not able to exfiltrate data. He was trying to move on a file server. We saw that, and he was isolated before happening. Everyone was coordinating perfectly. Everyone was aware who is having access where, which are the security tools that must be used. Who is able to manage the firewalls to isolate an entire subnet for that moment. What is the emergency communication plan, because it was about some Microsoft accounts which were compromised, and the communication using the Microsoft accounts was not safe at that moment, and they were having a backup communication plan for that. Everything was going really softly, and the attacker was contained immediately.
Mike, let me ask you a question, right? You guys protect some of the biggest companies on the planet, right? And if I'm a large telecommunications company in Europe or North America, surely if Ronan Murphy can go on the dark web and see that there's a foothold for sale in a telecommunications company, why aren't these guys doing it? Why aren't these large organizations, trawling this information out there in the wild to figure out if they're a potential victim, or are they doing that? And if they are doing it, why do they continuously fall victim to these attacks?
They are doing it. Threat intelligence is so you have your threat intelligence, and these feeds can come from threat intelligence reports that have been generated by, say what happened in HSE or so on, but they also have feeds coming out of the dark web. So those 17 bots would be known. So if I go back to IBM, we'll say the X-Force threat intelligence, we scrape the dark web and we look for that. And what we do is we get sticks and taxi information, which will tell us about hashes, or IP addresses, or domain names, or additional information. So that's all readily available. So then what happens is these telcos or any of our commercial clients, you can't just look inwards. Again, you can't just be, I'm waiting for the indicator of compromise, because now I'm on the back foot. I'm indicator concern. So what I'm doing is I'm sucking in the threat intelligence, and I'm infusing that with any IP, any hash, any domain name that's in my network. And we call it, am I affected? So you're looking at items that might have got into your network. They haven't gone bang, they haven't gone moving yet, but we say, that now bot is not what you think it is. It's not a free Domino's pizza voucher. It actually is a really, really malicious. And if anybody clicks on it before they come in, it goes. So what we do is we're able to then get into the indicator of compromise, think that that's sitting there, very benign, but it has the potential of going bang. And it hasn't broken a rule, but we've got correlation with our threat intelligence, and we start to isolate it. So we actually, and this is where coming back with the holistic approach, we then isolate and go, this is an indicator of concern, she's getting isolated.
Do people believe that this is a one-off thing, that if we do it once, we're done?
Oh, plug and play, walk away, the regulator is going to be happy with this. Regulation and cyber defense has nothing to do with each other, because one's a risk item and one's a threat. Risk and threat are totally different. Risk can be quantified. Threat, I don't know who is out there today who's going to launch an attack against tomorrow. It is a cold war we can never win, because I cannot take out my aggressor. So the only thing I can do is make sure I'm as safe as possible. Now, there are new things coming out. AI is definitely making a mark. Machine learning, automation is definitely making a mark. We are supplementing the analysts number 1, 2, and 3 with tools that can actually spot these anomalies in massive data sets. So AI will make a massive mark in protecting. But you just also said, Ron, earlier, unfortunately, if I can buy those AI tools, so can the bad guys.
On that note, Mike, Alex, thank you so much for your contribution today. Fascinating discussion. Have a great day.